So yeah, let's do this. So hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Chatter. Today I'm here with Alex Schaefer, a painter who became famous for painting burning banks. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, not a problem. It's a pleasure to be able to chat to you. Really, it was funny. Like I knew your work, and then someone reached out to me and suggested that I sort of look a little bit deeper into you and possibly even have you as guest. So yeah, here we are.
Bravo. Sometimes an artist should just let their work speak for themselves, but I can't resist talking.
Well, what does it say? A picture paints 1,000 words. So we'll probably get maybe a couple of paintings in this conversation.
Yeah, I get a few thousand words. And I got my art supplies here. I got a little canvas, so I might just every now and then I'm just going to interrupt the interview and do a little painting here.
Yeah, go for it, man. So yeah, I've got us up on a split screen, and then I've got you just with both sides of the thing there, so people can see what you're doing, and I'll make sure I get plenty of that. So before we get into the burning banks and NFTs and getting arrested, why don't you tell people, like, what would you say the first piece of art that you remember making is?
Oh man, the first piece of art. I mean, I do vividly remember certain pieces that I did in grade school and high school, but I wouldn't really consider that that was just curiosity, and kind of trying a lot of things out. Like I probably was as excited to try to play a saxophone when I was 10 years old or something like that as well. But yeah, it was like a painting of a planet. I think it was Jupiter, and it was like colored pencil on black matte paper with these wax pencils, and it was a lot of hard edges and getting the moon of Jupiter, something like that.
Hmm. Did it go?
It took me a while to figure out the painting game, and I had a few teachers before after high school, and then when I went to art school, that really just hooked me onto painting, and Bob Ross was the guy that got me hooked on painting. I mean, I don't know, with your accent, you must know who Bob Ross is.
I mean, everyone on the internet knows who Bob Ross is.
Yeah. Right? If you've been on the internet, you know who Bob Ross is. And I mean, I was watching those back in the 80s, because I'm like 52 years old, so
you look good for 52.
So I was just like obsessed with watching Bob Ross, and there was this other guy that did watercolors, and then another dude that was kind of like Bob Ross's mentor, Bill Alexander, and then Bob Ross was kind of like, if Bill Alexander was Saturn, then Bob Ross was Zeus, because he ended up just taking over and becoming bigger than his father, in like a mythological sense.
Yeah, if Hercules took the crown.
Yeah, there you go. So I would say that was my gateway drug to painting. And I always have a fond memory of Bob Ross, but as I gotten older, I kind of recognize, you just start to see more, and so I always have, I always take Bob Ross with a grain of salt too when I'm trying to talk to someone who's a painter and keep them excited about painting, because the thing that's a lie about Bob Ross is he always nails it. Like his batting average, there's never a show where he's like, well, this sucked. I tried to do this waterfall with the rainbow and I blew it, but we'll see you next week. It's always a perfect landing. It's like the Olympics. It's like, sports or something. And to someone who's getting into painting, expecting that every time is like, it can be a stumbling block to getting into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because most of the work that you're going to do when you're pursuing something, you're just going to have a lot of failures, So I always go, Bob Ross is great. I mean, you could teach lessons about how the old masters worked in their paintings, by deconstructing the way Bob Ross works, but but they failed a lot more. You just don't see the failing. And I guess you don't see the failing of Bob Ross. But, with the old masters, fortunately, we do have unfinished pieces, like that's super instructional for an artist to look at Degas. I mean, there's more unfinished Degas than finished Degas. And so, painting is like, it's a game in and of itself. It's a whole separate thing. I mean, I am known as the guy who does the burning bank paintings, but what I'm thinking when I'm painting is nothing to do with the type of thinking I'm doing when I'm sitting around grumbling about how these banks have fucked everything up.
Really? Like so actually this is a great point. So you've magically managed to lead yourself towards something I want to ask you about. So brilliant. So you don't find that hatred or maybe not even hatred, but that just that anger towards the financial system and the way it operates isn't feeding into your desire to paint banks on fire? Because like one of the key moments I think when someone's like learning about art is that they realize that in terms of a painting, at least, that it's not just a picture of what you see on the canvas. Like, and that I realized way later than I should have. I will freely admit, I like did my we have a thing called a GCSE that you do at 16 in the UK. So I did my art GCSE and no one had explained that to me. I was just like making pictures of stuff. Like no one had explained to me that it
has a meaning to the viewer.
Yeah, exactly. And not just that, like, there can be many layers to it, and, it can be a metaphor, it can be like representing something. My art teacher just like didn't explain that. And that's maybe like sounds really stupid and naive, but I was a stupid, naive kid, so whatever. But
who's not?
Yeah, well, yeah, true. So like, do you really find that you're not like channeling that anger like consciously into the paintings to represent like I don't know, to some form of like catharsis almost?
The thing is, like, it's this merging of the type of painting that I like to paint that just worked really well with the subject matter, honestly, like fire lends itself to expressionistic brushstrokes, like if you look at William Turner paintings, I mean, there's a reason why he gravitated towards seascapes, because the energy that he can unleash with that type of painting and then leave it, and not cover it up with refined brushstrokes at the end is, it's like your chocolate falling in the peanut butter. It's a perfect combination. But the thing is, what's going on in my mind, the battle with the paint and keeping it interesting and cultivating an environment for happy accidents to happen and things like that is, like I said, I swear it's a different part of my brain, So I could be painting a seascape, with waves and the beach and whatever, and in my mind, the battle is the same, But as far as the burning bank paintings, I would say that it was just it was like a perfect choice, and I was just starting to read a lot. It went hand in hand with an awakening of what was going on in the financial world, starting in like 2008, 2009, 2010. I definitely, my brain came online to a certain subject in the news very tangibly at that point. That was like 12, 13 years ago, and at the time and still to this day, doing a lot of plein air painting, where you're just setting up on the street or you bring your art supplies wherever you're going and you paint what's in front of you, that it just seemed like I had to do a plein air painting of a bank on fire. Like, fuck them. You know, what are they going to do? And I mean, I know the person that I was seeing at the time was like, oh, was very discouraging. You know, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's like, what are you crazy? And that's, it like encouraged me. I mean, I'm not with this person, but it was like, it just felt more like this is something that I had to do, you know.
Because it was something you shouldn't.
Yeah, it was like it was a statement that I could make that was totally in my wheelhouse of the type of art that I like to make. You know, there's something to be said for the temperament. You know, they talk about, oh, the artist's temperament. And, you know, Van Gogh had a certain temperament and Cezanne had a temperament. And their works are different. And the temperament lends itself to the artist and what they also paint, you know. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to try every different type of subject matter and whatnot. But like I'm on the spectrum, the painting spectrum. I'm on the expressionism, emotions and paint and thick brush strokes, and I'm on the opposite of like super clean, refined, finish type of work, you know. But when I had an art history teacher that divided the whole kind of art world into two teams, the team expressionism and team classicism, you know, I was like, okay, I'm on this side. I'm on the side with Rembrandt and Franz Hals and the guys that throw a lot of paint around, Turner and Van Gogh. You know, I'm never going to be a French academic painter, you know, or like a Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, or you know, like a contemporary artist who's very tight and stuff. It's not the type of music I'm going to play, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like music. Like some people aren't going to be hip hop artists, and some people aren't going to be soul singers. Like,
yeah,
you know.
So when I'm painting on the street, like even when I'm painting a burning bank, I'm not necessarily all the time going, God damn, man, I hate these motherfuckers. But sometimes I'll do that, you know, throw some brushstrokes in. Like I remember seeing some video of some guy who did these paintings where he's screaming into his brush as he's like dragging a brushstroke across the canvas, like, ah! And sure, you know, I've done that. But still, I mean, when it comes to the whole spectrum, I'm a painter, you know, and I know what I'm good at.
Yeah. So when you talk about the battle with the paint, like, do you mean like you're battling with the colors to not let it like slip away from where you're going? You're like, what do you mean by and is that like yeah, search for the colors? Is that drawing your attention, and that's why you're not necessarily
okay? So I could start with like a little painting right now.
Yeah,
so I got my things here, you know, and a lot of times you'll hear people say, "Oh, you got to learn to draw before you can paint," you know. So then you're like, "Oh shit, I got to get a really sharp pencil now, and I got to draw a really careful line around what I'm going to paint," you know, and then I need to make sure that I get everything just right, and then you start to be like, okay, I'm going to start putting colors in here. I'm going to fill it up to the edge with pink and orange and stuff like that. And that's a type of work, you know, that's a type of way of working. And it's very procedural. It's very like a recipe. You know, you can't cook a cake in reverse. You have to follow the recipe, you know, and you don't put the egg in after the cake's out of the oven and then put the water on when you burn the flour, you know. So with painting, there's also this idea where it's like, well, screw it. I'm just going to get a big, gigantic brush here, and I'm just going to lay a bunch of orange on here first, just a big patch of orange, and I'm going to get even more orange underneath your chin, and you know, and then I'm going to just take another gigantic brush, and I'm going to start to get some of your hair and get this going on. and maybe start drawing your neck. And then on top of this cushion of color, now I could start drawing again. Oh, maybe I'll put your eyes in. Maybe I'll start to put in your mustache and some of your beard, stuff like that. So the game of painting is in part like, I don't like to follow the rule. I don't like to follow the recipe. I find it to be, when you're painting realistically, the song is the same. The chord changes are the same. The way that the illusion of light is created with paint is the same. Mm-hmm. But how you get there doesn't have to be the same. So I'm kind of like constantly trying to just take a different path to get to the same ending. Mm. And if I think about it in terms of like painting and art history, you have, like I said, the Expressionists and the Classicists. I would also, another one of my teachers said, the Florentines and the Venetians. Those were the two painters. They're both Italian, but the way the Florentines work versus the Venetians. The Florentines all came from fresco. So you don't fuck around with fresco. You got to do it like this. There's no improvisation. There's nothing left to chance. You do lots of studies, you do drawings, you do enlargements with contraptions and devices, and you transfer it onto wet plaster, and you got 4 hours, and if you don't get it right, you're fucked. And so that notion of how the process and recipe and requirements of painting in fresco, sometimes people take that with them to oil painting, and but the Venetians were kind of like, nah, I don't want to do that, and so they were more like, they were oil painters, and you don't have to do it. Like there's some like high Renaissance, early Baroque painters where there's no drawings. They just had a big canvas, and whoever commissioned it said, I want it to be this big, it's going to fit here, and I want the theme to be, nymphs and satyrs or whatever. And they would just stretch the canvas and start drawing on it. Like, I don't know. And then when you x-ray those paintings, they're like, oh, you can see that there used to be a shepherd here, but they painted it out. And then they put a basket where this is, and they added this person, and they changed their gesture. And there's all this like changing. They call it pentimenti, but you can't do that to like a fresco painting. There's none of that working it out as you go. I'm just going to wing it and start off with a general idea. It's impossible, So I'm on the side that likes to work more in that manner. That's my manner.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's kind of like the way artists would create music, like the two different approaches. Like I know there's a lot of people who say, perhaps in like the early days of Lennon McCartney, they would write the song and that would be it, and they would come in and the band would play it. Or one individual will write the whole thing perfectly. They'll have all the arrangements and they'll just come in, like Brian Wilson in the Beach Boys, right? He would have written the entire arrangement and then come in and just be like, okay, play. Or there's bands that maybe go in with absolutely nothing. Actually, U2 are a band who I don't know if you know this. They write all their songs by just going into a studio with nothing, and then they just start playing. And sometimes it can take days, but they just go in and they just start playing until they feel like something, and they record everything, and then they'll go back, they'll review it, they'll find a little bit that they like, and then they'll like go in and then like start with that and build the songs from there. And sometimes it can take like months and months and months and months. Like there's a documentary about their album Achtung Baby that nearly destroyed them, because they tried doing this, but they had to totally reinvent themselves because they felt they'd become stagnant, and the entire band nearly broke up while in the process of making it. And then they wrote the song One, and everything was fine.
Oh my God!
So
I never knew that.
Yeah, so it's very much.
It makes sense though,
because you can hear the joy and inspiration in a lot of their music. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like someone sat in a room and wrote it. I don't think you could. I don't think you could like sit in a room and come up with like, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Like it doesn't emerge like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much they bring to it, and how much that they're just kind of like, like maybe one guy comes with a bunch of chord changes that he likes, and he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna somehow work this into something here.
Yeah, and it's the coming to it, and it's like I guarantee some of their songs have been rewritten like 100 times, like painted over the canvas. And
Yeah.
I think it'd be fascinating with art the way they can X-ray the canvas, but like say you could like I don't know X-ray like a record, and you'd be able to
Yeah.
see the layers of song that came like underneath it and before it.
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember one time falling for some fake news, but it really, it still made me think it was super cool. There was a guy, the fake news was that they used a laser on a Greek vase that was a turned vase, and they pointed this laser at it, and that somehow miraculously the voices in the room at the time of spinning the vase were recorded in the clay like a record,
Huh?
and that they were able to shoot this laser and then spin the vase, and then you could hear like someone saying something in Greek. And I was like, I fell for it. I was like, all right, it's so plausible, you know.
That is plausible. Because I was
But
talking.
to this day, that kind of the X-ray thing, it's like an Easter egg, you know. And like they just found another Easter egg, another Van Gogh Easter egg. Like he was the classic artist who left Easter eggs everywhere. And that was part and parcel to why he was such a big, why he was just so popular for so long, you know, for years after his death. Like into the 40s, I think, in the 50s and the 60s, they were still finding like Van Goghs
Wow.
plugging up a hole in some old lady's chicken coop in France, you know, or someone that bought an old hotel and the way in the attic, there was like a painting there. And so, you know, those just kept popping up for years and years, and then it would become a huge story. Of course, the news wants to run some crazy story like that, and then it would go to auction, and the prices just got higher and higher. And so in a, you know, that's kind of part of the game, is like leaving those Easter eggs. I paint over my paintings all the time. So if anybody is ever going to X-ray one of my paintings in the future, like give that much of a shit to X-ray, they're going to find like 3 or 4 paintings underneath, you know. It's really just helped my storage problem, and you know, there's sort of it's like a ritual, or there's a getting over you're getting over yourself, you know. Like you'll keep a painting and you'll think, this was good, you know, and then 5 years later you're like, what is this shit? This is like, you know, so the paintings that are still around, like I really like them, because if I'm like, man, I don't know about that, these days, fuck it, I'm painting over it, you know, or I'm like repurposing it. Maybe there's like a part that I like, and then there's a part of it, like I got this painting here. You know, I did a bunch of like plein air paintings at a like rock festivals years ago, and so it's a lot of these crowds in the foreground, and there used to be like a big stage back here. And so I've just taken a shaving brush and just kind of taken white paint and painted all the stage out, but left the crowd. And I kind of want to take this to do like a burning bank, but then also have this pre-painted like crowd cheering it on, you know.
That'd be fantastic. You've almost got the smoky background already.
Yeah. And so you know, you keep painting. That's the thing, is you just keep painting. You never know what you're gonna do, as long as you're kind of like finding a way to keep it interesting. You know, the things, sometimes you don't know what to do with something, and then years later you do. You know, maybe that happens with a musician. You're kind of like, God, I can't figure out this song, or I can't figure out this poem, or I can't figure out this short story, but you just sort of keep it. You work on it now and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, damn. Oh, okay. I know. And life's all about those exciting revelations.
Yeah. Do you know what? Maybe you find this too. I find sometimes I'll be going back, like I was going back through like some of the music I'd written like a long time ago. It's like,
yeah,
I don't remember writing this. I don't remember.
Okay, so
this
you're a
at all.
musician.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Cool.
yeah, you could say that. Yeah. So, but yeah, I find. Do you ever do that? You're going back through old paintings or sketchbooks. You're like, I don't remember doing this.
Oh yeah, I mean, I totally enjoy it. But the thing is, I've been painting for a long time, so I got some oldies, and and yeah, it's fun to go through and look at stuff, and to see like maybe where you're evolving and things like that.
Yeah, it tends to
And
be one or the other. I'll either go back and think, "Oh my goodness, this is such trash," or like, "Oh, that's kind of good. I wrote that." Like,
yeah, but see, now I've gotten to the point where I painted over most of my trash.
that's
I
smart.
actually need to go to the art store and get some fresh stretcher bars and stuff. I'm low because I don't want to start like getting to the point where I'm like starting to paint over my things I like, because I'm like, oh, I don't have any more canvas.
Yeah, I only wish there was a Citadel Securities in California. Maybe there is. That would be one.
What
that
is that?
You would make so much money if you painted Citadel Securities on fire. No, I'm not even joking. Like,
Really?
So I don't know how much you know about like the meme stock thing that happened last year. Okay, so I'm writing a book about GameStop specifically because they were the one that was really the company that kicked it all off and the one that kept going, really.
Right.
So basically, the thesis from the mainstream and all the companies that claim they are that all their bets in that area are closed. There's nothing else to see here. Everybody look away.
Because the story is just evaporated.
Yeah, but it has not. This is what my book is about, right? Because from the perspective of basically everyone that's not watching this like hyper closely, it's done. Yeah. It's over. It's finished. But the company has been making incredible strides. They have. It looks like they're about to make all of our dreams come true.
Oh my God.
So the thesis of the whole thing was that there was loads of like fake shares in circulation, right, of GameStop, because of
because they just counterfeit it when they short sell, right?
Exactly, right. So they claim that all the shorts have been covered. There is no more counterfeit shares in circulation, and that's the end of that. The people, right. the sort of million strong community on the internet believes otherwise. And the company just released a stock split as a dividend, right? So that means that theoretically they have found a way to expose the fact that there is a massive number of extra shares, and there's been a lot of weird things happening with people's like brokerages and how the split was executed by different brokers, and there's allegations that the DTC, which is like the central regulatory body who's in charge of all this, have committed international securities fraud.
Oh my God.
And the company have been building an NFT marketplace, which has quickly become, I think, the biggest, if not one of the biggest. GameStop have just released this NFT marketplace, which has already become one of the biggest, if not the biggest on the internet in terms of volume traded.
Oh my God.
They've smashed past OpenSea, as far as I was aware. Yeah. Like they're coming for the crypto market, man. So the theory is that now they're going to withdraw their stock from the stock exchange and put it on their own NFT-based exchange to prevent any financial system fuckery in the future.
Oh my God. So they're just going to use that to
theoretically,
fuck with the financial system.
Exactly.
And then, it's going to discredit NFTs. I mean, I could see why they're doing it because it's like it's a win. I hope that, this is off of my subject matter of expertise, but where do you think it's going to go?
Well, I mean, that is the real question. Whether GameStop actually withdraw themselves from the DTCC and the exchange and create their own thing remains to be seen. They now have, since this all kicked off, they have built themselves the capability to do it. One, their layer 2 partner in where they've built their NFT marketplace. Now, this isn't my 100% area expertise, so I could be getting this slightly wrong. But they've partnered with this company, Loopring, who they have like sort of absorbed, but not really. And their entire software is built for making decentralized exchanges. That's what their entire thing is for. And that's who they're working with. And like, I don't know, man, it just seems like all of the pieces are falling into place. But the reason that you should paint Citadel on fire, to get back to your original question, is because Citadel Securities are the main villain of the story. So there was Robinhood, who was the broker that everyone was buying on, who turned off the buy button. But Citadel Securities were the biggest hedge firm that had the biggest short position against GameStop, and were the ones buying all the order flow from Robinhood, and have, like, in the eyes of many, leaned on Robinhood to turn off the buy button, but that remains to be proven in court.
And that was like the infamous moment in history there.
Yes. So you should paint Citadel Securities on fire, because some GameStop obsessed legend will buy it for a lot of money. I would.
But is it just like where are they? What is it? Is it just like a big
it's one of you
anonymous?
No, they're what's called
a headquarters?
No, it's what's called a market maker. So they're basically they're kind of a brokerage, but also more than a brokerage. So they provide, like, liquidity to the market by being able to create shares, essentially, and sell them.
Okay.
And that's how you get company. That's how.
So are they the ones that are counterfeiting all this?
Yes,
basically?
Theoretically, yes. So they are the villains of the story.
They're the worst.
They are. People, yeah. It's been quite a saga. Go pre-order my book, everyone that's listening. I'm in the midst of finishing it as we speak. Actually, only a year after I thought I would, but there you go.
I am just continue to be blown away at how long this has gone on.
Wait, do you mean this saga, or I assume you mean like the fuckery of the financial system?
Yeah, the whole fuckery of the financial system. And if I think about everything that is plaguing the world right now, or maybe specifically America, it's just, part of it is that everything about the American dream is just what's the word? It's like they're just, it's unattainable now. That the money has gotten so fucked, and wages are stuck. The cost of living is so outrageous that I'm losing my train of thought.
Yeah, I'll help you out here, because I get very mad about this too. And America is not alone. It may feel like it is, but it is not. The entire world is suffering at the hands of probably what broadly known as financialization. It's just the constant expansion of the finance world. And there's a great book actually you should check out called The Finance Curse. So it argues that the finance industry has become more of a drain on the economies of the developed world than any other industry. Like they claim to be the thing providing all the money, but they're the ones preventing all the growth, because they go in. They buy up companies who are doing perfectly well. They drain them of their money. They strip them of their assets. They file bankruptcy, and then they walk away after, like, draining all the money out of it and destroying a company that people took decades to build. It's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, there's, what's the word? They call it vulture capitalism, where they're just, and I've just seen such a long, frustrating industrialization, demanufacturing of the world. I really look back to 1971. I don't know about you, but like that was the date that really changed. I mean, that was when the dollar failed and they created a new dollar. And we're at the point now, 50 years later, where that one's failing and they want to do it again with a digital dollar. If there's anything I think that the public needs to learn to reject, is that the central banks have been given the power to issue money, and that they have fucking blown it. Now we're coming on the third time. Then there is no possible way that the public can accept a central bank issue, the Federal Reserve issuing a digital currency. Someone's got to articulately explain to the public that they are not worthy of that power. Because the amount of power that comes with a centrally issued digital currency is like taking the best thing and turning it into the worst thing.
Yeah.
And I don't blame China. for example, like they're just playing the game. They're like, oh yeah, you want to ship all your factories here? Great. You want to show us all the ways that you manufacture these things and just basically give up, 150 years of innovation and manufacturing capacity and whatever. I really thought with COVID and the emergency the emergency that created or seemed to create with not manufacturing our own medical supplies here in America.
Yeah, man.
That alone should have been like, they should have, if they're going to spend money, they should have immediately started spending money to subsidize repatriating at least beginning with the medical industry.
Yeah.
I mean, every job should be back here, and globalism should be totally wound down. I just think that this direction that the whole world is taking, where it's like a larger central controlling body, is just going to be worse and worse. I mean, look how bad it is already just to try to deal with, the Department of Motor Vehicles, or they're just like any government agency where you're trying to get a service from them. How does anybody think it's going to get better the bigger it gets? Because now it's as big as it's ever been, and shit's worse than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And like I was like kind of remembering the train of thought that I lost. There are so many problems that I, in my heart of heart, believes would be a background problem that wouldn't be such a catastrophe if people had a decent living and got paid, and there were jobs, and it wasn't this hustle culture, and because not everyone's a hustler. I think that these people, these think tanks and whatever that steered America where it's been going since 1971 have completely abandoned. And when these companies willingly left, they gave up on the American dream. Like, they gave up on the notion that
we've lost it.
Frozen. Oh, there you go.
We lost you for
I'm
a sec.
on a rant.
That's all right.
Where was that I was just saying that they forgot that they're part of this equation that makes everything work. Yeah. And then as wages have stagnated, credit cards, god damn, credit cards are what are propping up the American dream now, and they've been doing it since the 80s. And that's every goddamn credit card is just money creation. To what end? It's money from nowhere. It's suddenly $10,000. I mean, the only thing that's good about it, I
wonder if they have that. Like, I wonder if credit card companies like have the money, or if that's credit. Like, are they?
They don't have the money. It's like they just this whole idea that there's some sort of like Scrooge McDuck, that the banks have this big bag of gold and then they're lending out depositors monies and stuff. That is like a joke. Like that shit isn't even happening anymore. If you went to your bank and you tried to ask them for a small business loan, they're like, anything under $10,000, we just give you a credit card. Like, really? They don't care.
Is that where it's at? They just give you a credit
card? Pretty much.
So you can't get like a low
$5,000 to start a business, or you want a $8,000 loan? No, here's a credit card. And we'll loan you this money that came out of nowhere at like 18% interest.
Wow. And you're right. Like you've hit so many like absolutely accurate points here. Like you've hit on the decoupling of the dollar from gold. You've hit on the central bank digital currencies, which are the fucking worst idea in the fucking world.
The worst. Yeah.
It's like, does anyone not like the government's decisions on anything? There's like, be prepared for your money to be programmed for those decisions. Like, it's just not like a left or right issue. It's just like,
I know,
the government shouldn't have that power, nor should a non-government, like government affiliated, non-regulated, never audited body in the Fed. Like, they should just not have that power. Like, Like, audit the fucking Fed, someone. And then you're right as well, but the infinite liquidity, that they've just got like infinite money on tap. And like, this is another concept that it took me a long time to really get my head around, this, like the idea of inflation and just the fact that we've been like debasing the value of the money in our pocket for like 50 years now. Like 50 fucking years.
And the thing that drives me crazy when you think about it now is that there has been endless war and endless funding and endless growth of government, endless funding of the Pentagon, the Defense Department, dark science, surveillance programs. The money has been there with like grease lightning for every one of these diabolical concepts that's totally antithetical to America and freedom, and living in a world with peace. But then the second that we want good health care, better schools, farms that are closer to home. Let's say we want sci-fi type stuff, vertical farms. We want desalination plants. The moment that it's any kind of spending that's going to benefit the public, then our leaders just go, oh, well, where are we going to find the money? Oh, we have to cut a program. Oh, we have to raise a tax. We have to find the money because otherwise, where's the money come from? But they never have to go through that bullshit when it comes to funding their own projects. I mean, in my personal opinion, I think that there are probably departments within the CIA that are fully funded, doing all kinds of dark shit that the CIA doesn't even know about. They're so compartmentalized.
Yeah, you're very right about that, actually. Very, very right. Like they're super compartmentalized. Like and that's why like nothing ever gets caught or brought up because they're so compartmentalized. Like, and yeah, man, you're really hitting a lot of amazing points. I just wanted to bring up for people here this that I'm sharing it on the screen. You can't see it, but it says that America has spent 6.4 trillion on wars in the Middle East and Asia since 2001. 6.4 trillion. That's about a quarter of the U.S. national debt. Just on the Middle East wars. Like that doesn't even
just a total shame. Mm-hmm. I mean, in my opinion, and then the fact that like that we've been told all this time that we can't have good things because where are we going to find the money? They have totally lied. They created an infinite stream to fund all their programs in 1971, and the American public didn't realize what they did. Because now I hear people talking about MMT and public banks, and those are good things, But at this point, the Federal Reserve, how is it not MMT with a middleman?
It is, but like, right? Do you want to know what I think the difference is? Actually,
tell me.
Is that like right? So under modern monetary theory, the idea is that like it's very Keynesian in a way that people don't realize. It's like you print this money, like you got use it on like useful things that like grow the economy, basically. Like invest it in your infrastructure, invest it in like, I don't know, fucking solar panels on people's houses, invest it in like geothermal or in nuclear if you want to go that way. I mean, like
I'm totally with you there.
And that like the difference is that when we're funding private corporations to go out in like Iraq, Afghanistan, things like that on our behalf, like because like the military doesn't spend all the budget on just themselves in the military. Like loads of it just like contracted out. So you're paying like Blackwater and Raytheon and Boeing and like whatever the mercenaries are to go and spend the money or pocket it. Like it never ends up in the place where it's providing like monetary and like economic utility to the community that is paying for it in their tax. Like that's where the difference is. Like if they were spending this money to go and say, build out like electrification like they did in the fucking 40s, that was the reason that debt isn't still on the fucking books is because it provided so much economic benefit to the nation that it paid for itself. And this is the difference.
And like honestly, like that's what China's doing right. That's what they've been doing right all this time. Is they just been spending the money on building the infrastructure. and we've been kind of like spending the money on building up the state, and the homeland is a shambles, and people's minds are a shambles.
Yeah. Well, yeah, China's, because China have an even more onerous homeland security state.
They are a technocracy, with capitalism, and I really think that there's some really good guys that I watch on YouTube called ADV China, and they do a lot of really good, insightful videos. And but they're like, they're just saying at this point it is like the worst direction that we could go. I see like Canada kind of going there and embracing a lot of this stuff, a lot of the spending now. Like I look at 5G, 5G is simply infrastructure for the technology state.
Yeah.
I mean, how fucking fast do I need to get my videos on my phone?
Yeah.
Do I need to get my videos so fast that we need to build a system that's basically so you can have live AI security cameras? Now, granted, when I watch some of these videos about China, the good thing about China is outside of the cities, everything falls apart. The whole surveillance state. They still have thugs and people that'll just show up and like police and stuff, but the cameras and the spyware and all that stuff is not as effective as they say it is. But
yeah,
I don't blame China for what they're doing, but I'm just so scared of the direction that their government's taking.
It's worrying.
And then we're in a place where we can't say anything bad about them.
That's the more worrying part. Like, if I'm honest, because there's always been horrible dictators overseas as long as I've been alive. I mean, and for the entirety of human history, really. But it's only in the last 100 years, less than 100 years, where we've been like free enough to see it, like and we've had the access to the information, and we can sit and be like, well, thankfully at least we're not there. But then when, like you said, when we don't condemn it, like what did fucking Pelosi say the other day? I was stunned. I was like, woman.
That they're like they rank high on the freedom index.
Yeah, they're like one of the freest countries in the world, and I was like, what? Like, what world are you living in?
I know.
And I was thinking, they're all so old, man. Like,
how
do people who are that, like, surely you want like a young, like fit, like energetic person to do it, like
to be the leader.
Yeah, because like they say, it's a difficult job. There's a lot of stress involved. It's like, great, let's not have like people who should be retired do it.
Yeah, and the fact that she is not, that none of these people seem to be cultivating, being mentors to a younger generation of leaders, that just shows that they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, man. There's no baton passing. You're very right.
Yeah, and what I don't understand, this is one of these things in my mind where it's like you just get frustrated at the world, and then maybe it's like Machiavelli is reassuring, like, don't worry, it's always been like that. But what do these people need? And who do they think they are? And who do we think we are? I've tweeted it a few times, and I pretty much stand by it, although people could probably find circumstances where I would change what I said. But I was basically like, I'm always going to agree with what farmers have to say. When it comes to like the Dutch protesters and stuff, like I don't know about you, but I just think that this climate change and these so-called solutions are just another means to hijack, the public, the commons, and to seize land, to seize control, to force businesses to capitulate to this system. And carbon credits, they've already figured out they're going to be carbon credit backed securities, and it's going to be another just financialized instrument to exploit, you
Yeah.
know, and then they'll say like, oh, well, every human, you know, you get 50 carbon credits a year and you have to wear this mask now all the time. And it's going to measure how many times you exhale. And if you exhale more than 2,000 times a day, then, you know, you have to pay a little carbon tax, and we'll just take that out as like a breathing fee from your central bank digital currency wallet that is hooked up to your, you know, your medical records and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going in a very scary direction. Like I was going to say that like what you said about carbon credits, the trading and the financialization of them is like it already exists, man. Like this is already happening. Like it happened under Obama. This is from recently in the UK. Like there's carbon credits. Like they're betting for like $100 carbon price. Like they've already financialized the market. Like in this thing, and I think you're totally right. Like the idea of like clean renewable energy that we can make in our own country and do not have to ship around the world, do not have to bow down to dictators in order to get it, you know. Like I guarantee we would be a lot less nice to Saudi Arabia if we didn't need their oil. I figured that we'd be sort of less okay with some of their human rights atrocities. I think we probably wouldn't let Qatar host the World Cup if they didn't have all the oil. And, you know, so for me, this is another thing that I don't see as left and right. Is like, do you want to be able to like be energy independent as a nation? Like that is like such a national security goal. That is like any nation who becomes energy independent is just like so much stronger in their whatever position they are. Like whether that's like financially, like militarily, whether that's just in terms of like stability within the country of like access to energy. It's wild that we're drifting in this really, really authoritarian direction. But like, do you think that part of me feels like there's definitely like a shift in tide in this like realm, like in terms of like people realizing what's happening? Like, what do you think?
I do. Yeah. It's I don't know how exactly it's happening, you know, but I think that I mean, at least like one thing I can point out is like right now in America, the Democratic Party has had the trifecta that, you know, go out, go vote so you can get Democrats in, and then they're going to do what you want. So the Democrats have had this trifecta for 2 years. They've had the president, the House, and the Senate.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
and they have
almost 2 years.
They have gotten nothing done. Nothing of consequence. Nothing. They've bitched about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They continually are bitching about Donald Trump. Like, fucking drop it. You know?
I know.
They have blown it because now they're in campaign mode as they coast down into the midterm elections in November. So they're not going to get anything done now. You know, from now till November, zero is going to get done. And then they're going to in my opinion, they're going to lose. So they're going to lose this power that we're told this is why you vote, so that you have all the wheels at your party's disposal, and then magic happens. But nothing happened.
And then,
they fucking squandered it.
Do you know who wins? The fucking donors. Because the only things that get passed are things that are bipartisan. In other words, that are like that have the same people are paying both sides. That's the only things that get passed.
Yeah.
And new agents, 87,000 new IRS agents, some of whom need to be physically fit and able and willing to use deadly force.
Oh my god!
No, seriously, I saw the ads, and they've also the IRS has purchased like hang on, let me find out how much this is, because like they've purchased
thousands of guns.
Yeah, and ammo as well.
Yeah, I've read that.
Which is like what? Like what?
So like what's
the IRS doing? Like
I know.
Yeah, 5 million rounds of ammunition and 4,500 guns.
Oh my god. They don't, you know, that just shows what they're after. They're not going to like throw the hammer at crime going on at the top. Those people all just keep getting away with it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a sad state of affairs, man. It really is. It's
So then that's why it's really weird to be an artist right now too. You
yeah.
know,
So yeah, let's talk about that to finish off. So like, why do you say it's
well,
weird to be an artist right now? What prompts you to say that?
because it just feels like um, that it's just such a strange time to it's like to be a fine artist, I guess. Like when I was a video game artist, I was like had a salary and was productive and was making product and that people are consuming, and you could still argue that being an artist in video games, you're still making fluff or whatever. But to try to be like a fine artist, you're really making stuff that people don't need technically, and then as it gets harder and harder to just fill your car with gas and commute to your job that barely pays you enough to buy the food you like to eat and maintain whatever lifestyle you had for the last 20 years, then it's kind of like it's a harder sell. you know uh when like I've never tried to be someone who's really wheeling and dealing their art. I mean, I'm trying to sell it, and all I can do is try to make artworks that I think are deep and beautiful, and but at the same time, people trying to make money out of art, like investors investing in art, is sort of like makes me scared. I see all these ads on Twitter. There's some masterworks.io. It's it's like they sell fractional fine art, and and um, and so they're trying to parlay art as like an investment vehicle. And Morgan Stanley or Bank of America has a fine art fund where it's like they scour the art schools and art forum, and they buy what they think is going to go up. But it's such a market that can be rigged.
Yeah.
And if you're really like the people that have made a lot of money and become big in the art world, they didn't passively collect art and then just watch it magically go up in value. You look at Gertrude Stein, you look at Vollard, you look at Charles Saatchi or Bob Skull or whatever, like they played a major part in their own art collections becoming big. So I get scared when people start kind of talking about how this is a great way to just like, sit around and watch your portfolio go up. Like if you didn't buy a piece of art first and foremost because you like it, then there's better ways to be making money.
Yeah.
And then have you ever heard all these stories about how the CIA totally manipulated the art market in the 50s, 60s, and 70s as part of a culture war?
Dear God, tell me more.
No, there's books on the subject now, my friend. If you search CIA modern art, they were hand in glove with the media, with the critics, with the auction houses at creating a bubble in American art as to show that American exceptionalism, we are number one. The Soviet Union is old-fashioned, like they're stuck in the 19th century and America is on the moon. And so they threw money behind Pollock, and Clement Greenberg was one of their boys. And when they took these paintings to the auction houses in New York, they were breaking records left and right because the CIA was just throwing money into the auction houses. And so it was like a win-win for them because they were able to get all these giant headlines and how America is the greatest thing ever. Yeah, this is all. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're putting up a thing here that's showing.
Yeah, maybe you can't see it if I'm on thing. Yeah, I decided to pull it up so you could see it, but I've realized
and it really
you may not
makes
be able
me
to
question everything that you think about abstract expressionism and blue chip art from the 60s to now. That we got played.
I'm really pissed about Jackson Pollock. I love Jackson Pollock.
I know, that's the thing. These guys were good, but the fact that artists like Grant Wood and the American regionalists, Thomas Hart Benton, they were borderline commies. They certainly were socialists, and for whatever you believe in that, their work portrayed the American scene, and they painted poor people, and they painted the plight of the farmer and the plight of the black person, and they had subject matter, and that was not what the CIA was interested in. So they just got rid of everything. They got rid of subject matter. They got rid of chiaroscuro. They got rid of figuration. They got rid of all representation. And then they just deconstructed painting until it got flatter and flatter. And then you just ended up with stripes and minimalism.
So so you think this was like so you think that was their goal, the minute that the end where it turned into just minimalism? Do you think that was their goal, just to because I see a similar thing happening in a lot of industries, right, where things have become weirdly simplistic, and especially I saw this thing, it was about how all logos look the fucking same now. They all have the exact same font, the exact same styling.
And that's because of Adobe.
Well, possibly, but that doesn't explain it. Adobe's got a lot of font, know.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that for a long time, every logo was a hexagon of some sort. The computers love the hexagons.
Yeah, well, hexagons are the bestigons, if anyone knows.
Oh, I love hexagons. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to draw them over and over because they can be flat and they can look like a cube simultaneously.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just gonna pull up this video for people. They can look at it. It's called "Hexagons Are the Bestigons" by CBG Cray.
I believe it. I'm a fan of hexagons.
I love me some CBG Cray. He's basically, I think he may be the king of YouTube. People need to check this video out. Hexagons Are the Bestigons. Anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out.
Am I still casting that other stuff? No, I am.
No, I just see me on the screen now.
Yeah, there we go. I'm back. Lovely. So, Alex, it has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, man. It's been a lot of fun, and we didn't.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
I look forward to seeing some clips or stuff. I subscribe to your YouTube channel now.
Oh, thank you. Well, yes, there will be this plus some
clips.
You've
had some big names on here.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky actually so far.
I mean, I'm sort of famous, but what's crazy about being well known and is you can be really well known, but then you're still in I could start rattling off a bunch of comedians that I think are some of the greatest comedians, cultural landmarks, and you'd say yeah, you ever heard of Doug Stanhope? And people are like, no, who's that?
Doug Stanhope?
He's one of the fucking funniest comics ever. So it's like being famous. I'm a tempest in a teapot.
Well, I'm somewhat well known amongst the GameStop community, who I'm writing my book about. So because most of my biggest interviews have been with people who are in that world. So I managed to get quite a lot of viewers from that. So that was nice. So I'm somewhat known.
The Citadel, you're giving me that tip with painting the Citadel.
Citadel Securities needs to be on fire.
So now, if I Google it, is there a building?
Oh yeah, there's a building.
There is a building.
So there was one in Chicago, and now they're moving to Miami. But the Chicago one, which is the perfect excuse to do it on fire since they're fleeing it.
Oh my God!
And there was footage. Some of the people went down with drones. Right, this is amazing. I will never get over some of the stuff that happened during this saga. So first of all, people started taking pictures of the building at night, being like, "Why are these guys working late? What's going down?" And then someone took a drone out and started hovering around it, and then loads of people started doing this. And one night, someone caught some Citadel employees on the 15th floor sniffing things off the table whilst working late.
Oh my God! Some idea powder. Bad idea powder.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing.
Oh, God.
And
Well, there
then,
goes their money. They're just snorting it right there.
well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, then like there was like at one point when the drone pictures were appearing on the subreddit, there was like a spike in like drone laws on Google,
Oh,
like
shit.
in Chicago, in the area where the thing is.
Like you can't fly drones this close to a building now, and
Oh man, yeah, it never stops getting old. It's been a ride, but yes, Alex, I will let you get on with your painting. Thanks for the nice
yeah,
portrait.
I think I got a decent portrait of you here.
Yeah, man.
It sort of looks like you.
I'll send you some postage, and you can mail it to me, and I'll put it behind me.
Yeah, there you go. Put a little frame on it.
Yeah,
I've
will
enjoyed
actually
the
do that.
conversation, man. Thanks a lot for having me.
No problem. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. If you want to leave us a comment, that would be awesome. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you're listening on Apple, please leave us a review. Until next time, thanks for listening.